Welcome to Dejobnik.
Spokesperson for the Israeli Prime Minister's office, Tal Heinrich, joins me. Good evening. And can you first tell me, how is the Prime Minister? I know he had surgery, and that was a little bit of a surprise to us, maybe not to Israel, maybe it was planned, but how is he?
He's doing well, Greta. He'll be discharged from the hospital tomorrow following the recommendations of the doctors. He is already back in his daily routine, conducting consultations, discussions, but he'll be discharged tomorrow.
All right. Now that strike in Syria that took out the Iranian general, was that an Israeli airstrike?
I've seen these reports. There is no comment on that from our end.
And why is that? Because it's pretty easy to figure this stuff out, once the dust settles. Is it that you just don't have the information? You're not prepared to make that announcement now?
Let's wait for the dust to settle then. And no comment on these reports so far.
Okay. All right. Let me turn to what's going on here in the United States. It seems that a lot of Democrats are perhaps, and maybe this is too strong a word, turning their back on Israel, trying to suggest that Prime Minister Netanyahu should leave. We have Majority Leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, saying that. He's also Jewish himself. How is that resonating in Israel with so many Democrats making these statements against the leadership in Israel?
I watched the sound bites that you played before the previous guest, and I have to tell you this, it's really not about a political issue here. It's not about Prime Minister Netanyahu. It's not about the IDF. It is a decision that we Israelis took as a nation, that Hamas can be no more, that we're no longer agreeing to life next to a terrorist enclave. We're not going to go back to reality of October 6th. The war objectives, as the Prime Minister have defined them, is something supported by the overwhelming majority of Israelis. And according to polls, by the way, also a solid majority of Americans understand why Hamas can be no more. We will dismantle them as a governing body in Gaza and as a terrorist organization. For that, by the way, we have to go into Rafa.
Every time I hear someone speak out against Israel, the first thing I want to know from that person is have you walked that kibbutz or the two kibbutzes, or even where that concert was? That's number one. And number two, if you couldn't do that because you couldn't travel, have you contacted the Israeli embassy, certainly leaders in Washington, to see that 46 or 47-minute video where Hamas videos for themselves what they did to all those innocent people? Because I think that puts things in much greater perspective. And it's very hard when you hear words like people, humanitarian thing, and people are dying. It's very difficult. But I think you need to have the whole picture. And I don't know if you feel the same way. I imagine you do.
I do. I think it's unbelievable that at this point, we're almost 6 months after October 7th, and people somehow dare to forget how we got to where we are, why Israel is acting in Gaza right now. And also, there's so many lies and Hamas propaganda spiraling the web. I also see it on repeated by different media outlets. And this is exactly what Hamas wants some people out there to do, to apply pressure on Israel for their vile actions in order to live another day and carry out another October 7th massacre. So people out there have to understand that when they apply the pressure on Israel, instead of on Hamas, instead of calling on Hamas to surrender, to release the hostages, they are giving Hamas a lifeline.
Is Israel blocking humanitarian relief into Gaza?
Not at all. On the contrary, you know that since October 7th, we place no limits on the amount of food, medical supplies, water that can enter the Gaza Strip. We have excess capacity to inspect those trucks coming into the border. And in fact, there are more food trucks coming into Gaza daily now than before the war started. More than 250,000 tons of food, that's what we facilitated, entered the Gaza Strip since October 7th. And really, we're finding more and more creative ways to better the mechanism of aid distribution, because that is the problem. There's no problem with getting the aid inside Gaza. There are challenges with getting the aid around Gaza, more specifically to the northern parts of Gaza, where you only have about 10 or 15% of the population at this point.
Tal Heinrich, thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you come back.
Thank you, Greta.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.